facts at the trial so far, we win on the law of self-defense. And so there's that motion. And then the J&OV is a judgment notwithstanding a verdict. That comes after a jury has rendered a verdict. The jury has voted. They say guilty. And then you say there is no way a reasonable jury in this case could make could come to the conclusions that they have. And the assertion there is that the jury is unreasonable for some level of facts. Bias, for one example, bias from the media, pressure from protesters outside the courthouse. Someone asked me about, is Antifa outside the courthouse? I have no idea if they are. I haven't seen any reporting on it. That doesn't mean anything. But you make these arguments that, look, we've got this in favor of self-defense, this in favor of self-defense. These are facts admitted at trial. Here's the transcript. These are not rebutted facts. These are facts entered by the prosecution. How on earth can we find this person guilty? And it's a low bar chance, but in most trials, it's a 0% chance. In the overwhelming majority, it's a 0% chance. When you've got a judge who seems to be knowledgeable of the facts and favorable to the disposition, I think it grows. So it is an opportunity if Kyle were to lose on this case, but I'm hoping that doesn't come down to it, frankly. Obviously, I hope for the jury to be smart enough to at least mistrial this thing.
Yeah, at a bare minimum, right? I mean, a hung jury is like a bare minimum for this case. But I mean, the fact that if any judge is going to do it, if any judge would do it, it's this judge, right? 90% of judges, I would actually say probably 95% of judges, you got 0% chance.
Yeah. And the fact that the carrying a dangerous weapon as a minor charge is still pending for a motion to dismiss and not just declined outright is actually very much a good prospect from this judge. He has been reserved on making dispositive rulings so far in this case. And even the motions in limine, he's like, you know what? I'm probably not going to let that in. Or I probably am going to let that in, but we'll handle it at trial. We'll handle it at trial. He's leaving the door open because he seems to be a judge who's open-minded to the law as applied to the facts of the case. And again, if you're defending a major crime like this, this is the type of judge you would beg and kill for on your own.
Completely agree.
Well, hey, I don't want to keep you guys. It's really late for both of you. So
a little bit, and I'll be on your channel tomorrow again.
Yes, and you're gonna be here basically for the duration tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll basically camp out in my office. We'll see how it works out.
That'll be fantastic. So why don't each of you plug your channels real quick while we have a break, and people go subscribe to Legal Mindset and Legal Bites, but you guys talk about it.
Yeah,
legalmindset.locals.com. I'll plug mine real quick so I can go to bed here. But legalmindset.locals.com. You can show over there. That's where I put my content, or Legal Mindset is my channel. I'm real easy.
My name's Alita. I channel Legal Bites. I'm on Locals. I'm on Patreon. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me anywhere. Just check out. There we go. Legal Bites.
Nice.
And,
well done.
Yeah, and I am actually, as of this live stream, I'm 2/3 of the way to my first 10,000 subscribers. So
awesome!
Super excited
Congrats.
about that. Let's see how quickly we can get to 10,000.
I am almost there. I just need to get over the hump, and I'm at 10K. I'm like, finally, It's taken a while.
Guys, go show them some love if you like their commentary. Go check out what other cases are following. Look, we got a big, broad legal community, and no one person can cover it all. We all encourage everybody. Yes. We all hang out and chat, and we have a lot of respect
really
for each other.
Great community. It's like the most supportive community that you'll find in any version of the legal profession anywhere.
Except for Legal Eagle. That guy sucks.
That's the one binding. You have to a common threat, and that was literally what triggered me onto the internet. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm in.
All right, guys.
Coach. All right, take it easy.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me today, guys. Peace.
Yeah, thanks for having us. See you tomorrow.
Yep, see you tomorrow. All right, chat. It's just me and you, and the sultry sounds of a 5.56 going into a pedophile. Nothing else but the sultry gurgle of a ventilated pedophile who is trying to touch a minor. Oh, those sweet, sweet sounds. I am biased on this channel, by the way. A lot of people make this mistake. They're like, oh, as a lawyer, shouldn't you be unbiased? Fuck no. Lawyers are biased. That's our job, to be biased. It is the one thing that we are supposed to do. We're supposed to be biased in favor of the client that we represent. Let me tell you what, in this case, I would love to represent a client like Kyle. I would not love to represent a decedent like Joseph, the pedophile Rosenbaum. And I could hear that death rattle all day. I got no qualms about it. No problem with it. It's music to my ears. Fuck these people. Well, that guy at least. As for the other people, Huber tried to hit someone with a skateboard. Not a good move. Gage Grosskreutz, you try to fake surrender and shoot someone. Not a good move. Don't care about you. I'm done. Done with these people. Don't care. Fully on Kyle's side on this one. 100% bias. You know it. It's open. I'll never lie to you about it. Let's see. Next, a couple super chats while we wait. Peter says the tackling position. Say it. That was the athletic position he was alluding to earlier. No, he's like, just say it. He's trying to tackle people. He's trying to harm people. Mithrin Emmer says, okay, points to Richards on not objecting about this earlier, allows him to get this information in now. Yeah, it's great. We didn't know that was coming. So cheers to him on that one. He got one. Well, he maybe got it right, or maybe he just stumbled into it being right. Squirrel says all the legal pundits you should get should make a D&D style law game, character sheets for applicable figures, roles for discovery, etc. It'd be fun to see a Roll20 style game with that kind of setup. That would be fun. Mithrin Emmer says, Binger. Only Mr. Rosenbaum moved towards Kyle, lunged at him, tried to grab his rifle, all while shouting he was going to kill him, but it was going to be a peaceful killing, right? Kyle wasn't afraid, right? Jason, I don't know where the sound is, by the way. I'm waiting for the court to turn that on. Jason the Great Awakening says, isn't it fun that the drone videos look so much like the Middle East friendly fire videos? But this time the feds use pedos instead of Hellfires and Apache gunships. Measerheart says, keep telling him there are 4 lights. Super Iron Bob says, unlike the prosecution, I don't understand what a sociopath is thinking. It's a good, yeah, that's good.
Good afternoon, folks, again.
We're back
How
now.
are the calzones?
Oh, I can use it. Give me a calzone.
Are they, anybody who didn't like them?
No fire,
About,
no steel.
the staff down here ate all the chips before I got any, but we have Subway tomorrow.
Oh, you go
Okay,
from
good.
calzones to Subway? The court is clearly biased in favor of pedophiles since they bought Subway. Yeah, budget coin hunter, I agree. Fuck off if you don't like calzones. Calzones are delicious.
Mr. Balch, I want to show you another
Wait, we're
video
still going
that
on
has been
direct?
admitted into evidence.
The
This
fire's
is
out.
Exhibit 11.
The
This is the
embers
Corey
burn on.
Elijah or Corey Washington live stream. We've got it paused here at, I believe that's the 54-minute and 30-second mark. Or to be precise, 54.
I thought this guy was done.
Do you see yourself in this video?
I do.
Okay. We're going to play this video forward for about 20 seconds, and then we'll pause.
Okay.
That's fireworks down there.
Again, we have a witness testifying to video that he didn't take.
Now, Mr. Balch, what we've just seen in that video, it showed you walking near the gas price electronic sign there for the Ultimate gas station. Would you agree with me on that?
I would.
And you appear at the end here to kind of walk behind that, almost at the corner of 60th and Sheridan. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Did you just see the defendant run through the screen?
I saw him, yes.
Now, you had testified earlier that when you were at the Ultimate gas station, you were looking for him. It appears that you were
You
within
found him.
10, 15 feet of him. Did you see him at that time?
No.
If you had seen him, what would you have done?
I would have went with him.
Is it after this point then that you returned to the 59th Street car source?
I headed in that direction, yes.
And you said you didn't make it there because why?
Shooting started.
What shooting was that?
I had to point at the thing.
Sure.
Oh.
I headed across 60th. The Bearcats were right here. When I got there, a sheriff's deputy held me over to the car. I'm at the Bearcat. He opened the door. I sat there and had a 2 to 3 minute conversation with him, maybe about what was going on over there. At that point, he directed me to go behind the Bearcats to go across the street. So at about that point, I moved west across Sheridan Road. When I got there, I turned to go north for rifle shots.
What did you do then?
I turned and headed south.
Where did you go?
Objection,
Towards where I
relevance.
heard the shooting. So I was right around in here, and I ran across the street into this green area here, telling everybody to get down. And then I got to the end, overlooking this area here.
Again,
this
objection,
wall.
relevance on this. Objection, Your Honor. Where are we going with this?
And then shooting erupted behind me over in this general area.
When you say this general area, can you point the pointer at that again?
I didn't think
please?
Binger was going to draw out this testimony all the
You're
way to
pointing
the end of the
area
day.
along Sheridan Road, south of 60th, sort of in front of the Boost Mobile and Check and Go.
Correct.
Again, we're going to try and play this artificial thought process.
Right.
I know you probably
Objection.
know now
Why are we
what that
playing an
was, but let me
artificial
just ask,
thought
first of all,
process?
At the time, the
Object.
shooting you just described, at that time, that night, did you know what was going on?
I had no idea what was going on.
With the benefit of hindsight and watching all the other videos now, what was that, if you know?
The first shooting that I heard, the pistol shot and the rifle shots, whereas the engagement between the defendant and Rosenbaum and the people that were with him down here. The secondary shootings would have been Anthony Huber and Gage Gorowitz.
Is that Gage Grosskreutz?
Gorowitz, yes.
It's kind of a difficult name. Can I just ask, Mr. Balch, when you were, where were you specifically?
What a waste of the jury's time. Objection, Your Honor. We're wasting the jury's time. Say that.
I didn't visually see them. I heard them.
Okay.
But I would have been right in this area right here.
Do you know if the shootings of Huber and Grosskreutz were further north of where you were at on Sheridan or further south, if you know?
It sounded like they were coming from behind me, so they would have been to the north.
Huber's dad. Huber's dad looks like literal Humpty Dumpty.
We're going to have another video. It's just going to take a second to set it up.
Shocker, Binger. Ryan North, welcome to my life, buddy. This is how YouTube censors people who talk honestly.
This is going to be Exhibit 5. It is the BG on the scene video. And I'm going to be playing a portion at the end. Can we rewind just a little bit from there, please? Going back.
Can you go back to the part where he murders someone?
Keep going back. Keep going. All right, play from there, please.
We're going to watch Kyle Rittenhouse walk down the fucking road again?
It takes impressive knowledge
you?
to be a temporal archmage. Don't worry, I'll think of something.
This is at the 43-second mark in the video. We've already had some testimony about this video, but Mr. Balch, do you see anyone that you know in that video?
No.
There's an individual there that is standing. There's two individuals that I see on that screen. The one on the
Ideas,
right
like seconds,
is
are
kind of in
fleeting.
all dark and appears to be holding a rifle of some sort. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea.
Can we back that up again about 10 seconds,
I
please?
must have
And then
missed
we'll play it forward.
Funny spoiler, it's Bulge. Oh, 20 seconds. That's good.
Balch,
That would appear to be me.
that's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually, at this point, north.
Object
Of
to this.
where
He
the
didn't
Huber and
recognize
Grossberg
who it
shootings
was.
Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
So when you said earlier you were south of it, turns out you were actually north.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you did? Actually, before I ask that question, we can see in this video that the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, is walking.
What's up, Viva? What the fuck is this? God damn it. Hold on. It's still live. All these cuck companies shut off their fucking live streams at like 6.5 hours.
Because by the time I got that far close enough to see it, everything was done.
A rifle.
Hold on, I'm finding the right spot. Okay. Hold on, let me mute the other stream real quick. Here we go.
Mr. Balch,
That would appear to be me.
that's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually, at this point, north of where the Huber and Grossberg shootings occurred. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
When you said earlier you were south of it, turns out you were actually north.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you did? Actually, before I ask that question, we can see in this video that the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, is walking up the street after he has just shot and killed Anthony Huber and just shot Gage Grossberg in the arm. At the time, and I know with the benefit of hindsight you've watched these things, but at that particular moment, had you any idea what had just happened?
No.
Did you see those shootings?
No.
Did you see the defendant?
No.
You've been trained in the military, been around shootings before, fair to say?
Yes.
How is it possible that you didn't
I
see
can't make it louder.
those things?
I wasn't looking down the street when it happened.
I can't make
Did
it
you hear
louder.
those gunshots?
Yes.
Did
It's
they
on their
target
fucking
into
end.
that area?
Yes.
Did you look?
Yes.
So how come you say you didn't see?
Because by the time I got that far close enough to see it, everything was done.
Did you see the bodies? Well, the body of Mr. Huber.
Closed
Yes.
captions are on. They don't
At
have
what
captions
point-
on.
When you're moving down the street, did you see him? See that body?
After I got to Gross Coits, when I got down there, Jason Lekowski was helping put a tourniquet on his arm. There's actually a video of that where I come around the side and ask everybody's all right if they got it. Saw the wound on Gross Coits' arm. Holy crap.
I'll check court
And
TV.
then I ran over to check Anthony Hubert's body.
When we've played this video before, we've heard a lot of people's voices shouting out about the defendant. That's the guy, whatever, things like that. Did you hear any of those voices?
In all the years that I've
I wasn't really trying to pay attention to
They don't even have it.
what they were pointing out.
When in this process
Yes.
did you find him? That
Okay, just a second.
or
I got Long Crime Network, which has a little bit better audio. I got to go back a minute here. I don't like switching fucking feeds because I have to find the spot.
This is going to be Exhibit 5. It is the BG on the scene video. And I'm going to be playing a portion at the end. Can we rewind just a little bit from there, please?
Wait, we're past here. Hold on.
Going back.
Help come around the side and ask everybody's all right if they got it. Saw the wound on Gross Coits' arm. Wasn't
Here's about
really
where we
trying to
left
pay
off.
attention to what they were pointing out.
When in this process
I
did
can't
you
hear me.
realize that an individual or individuals, people, had been shot?
Well, I'd heard the shooting, so I knew that there was shooting going on. I didn't know anybody had actually been hit until I got to Gross Coits.
Is it fair to say that this wasn't the first time all evening that you'd heard gunshots?
We'd heard them a couple of times throughout the night.
When you would hear gunshots, would you wonder if that meant someone was injured?
Most of the time they were far enough in the distance that there would be very little impact from us going in that direction.
I think you testified earlier that what originally started you heading south was hearing the pistol shot and the 4 shots that occurred at Car Source in 60.
I'll yell at you all I
Correct.
fucking want,
Matt,
chat.
According to the map, is about 3 blocks away.
Correct.
You talk about hearing other gunshots that are in the distance. Why did the shots here 3 blocks away attract your attention when others did not?
They were a lot closer than the other ones had been, and there was the potential that people that I was with that night were down there.
Did you think to yourself, that's the defendant?
No,
You didn't know, did you know where he was at?
I didn't know where he was at, but I didn't assume who had been doing the shooting.
When we see you in this video, is that after you have looked for the defendant?
Yes.
When we see you in this video, did you have any idea where the defendant was?
No.
Some of you are cool.
you-
Don't
when
come
we
to
see
the
you
live
in this
stream
video-
tomorrow.
Had you checked at Ultimate Gas to see if the
Yes.
defendant was there?
Yes.
Did you find him?
No.
When we see you in this video, had you already traveled north of the police line at 60th?
Yes.
Had you seen the defendant up there?
No.
Is it fair to say that at this moment in the video,
Objection.
you didn't have
Did
any
he see
idea
anything?
where the defendant was?
I had no idea where him or Jason Lekowski were.
And even though he's walking up the middle of the street near where you're at this point in the video, you didn't see him.
I didn't pay any attention to him, no.
Who is the first person who's shot by the defendant that you went to?
Gross Coits.
Did you help to treat him at all?
I made sure that that Lekowski had everything under control. I saw that he had a handgun in his hand. I already knew that a pistol shot had been fired and some rifle shots. I kind of assumed he was the person that shot the pistol shot. But as far as who had shot him, I had no idea. In fact, for a minute there, I thought it was Lukowski.
Who had shot Mr. Grosskreutz?
Yeah, because he was already there.
After you dealt with Mr. Grosskreutz, what did you do next?
I ran over to Anthony Huber.
Tell us about that.
He was laying kind of slumped over in the gutter a little bit there in the street. There were a couple of protesters kind of around him. When I ran up on him, they ran off. I started to roll him over, check on him, put my hand on his neck to see if there was a pulse or whatnot.
Oh, he killed
And
Huber.
Didn't
He
feel
strangled
one,
him.
but it was really just like a split-second check. And then the Bearcat pulled up next.
He choked
When you
Huber
say
to death. I
Bearcat,
heard
you
it
mean one
now.
of the armored law enforcement
Yes.
vehicles. And what, if anything, did those folks do?
They climbed out. They told me they were going to take him. They were going to take him. So I kind of gathered up his stuff that was laying on the ground, put it on him, helped him load him up in there.
What did you do next?
I continued south.
Now, I know you described what you've done so far with Mr. Huber lying there. Did Mr. Huber say anything?
Mr. Huber was deceased, as far as I'm aware.
So the moment you came upon his body,
Sorry.
he was already dead.
So far as I know, yes.
And you said you continued south after that?
Correct.
Where did you go?
I went to the 63rd Street location.
What did you find when you were there?
On the way down, I heard protesters saying somebody else had been shot down there, and I could hear shooting going on at the 63rd Street location or thereabouts.
What did you do once you got to the 63rd location?
Once I got there, I had somehow on the run picked up a couple of folks associated with the protest who were armed as well. Mr. Lukowski came in not too soon after that. Because you could hear the shooting coming from this area over here. And there were protesters kind of like huddled over into here.
I just want to make a record, Mr. Balch, because we need to be able to have everything typed in. So if I could just describe what you've just shown us, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I think you had pointed the pointer at the 63rd Street area in the block west of Sheridan Road between there and, is that 10th Avenue? Between Sheridan and 10th Avenue. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
And I know you indicated there was an area where, did you say there were gunshots that you heard coming from?
Yes.
Can you again point so I can make sure I am, okay. You're describing the area that is sort of the west half of the block between Sheridan and 10th Avenue along 63rd on the north side of 63rd. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And you indicated you heard some gunshots from that area?
Yes.
Do you remember how many?
There were quite a few.
Did you see anybody who was doing the shooting?
I didn't visually see anybody shooting, but
This witness
Once I
hasn't
moved-
witnessed any of this.
we moved into this area right next to the building.
Cut.
I kind of popped around into those cars. There were like 2 or 3 cars over in there. And it looked like this building right here was where it was coming from, but there were also shots coming from further back.
Okay.
And
If I could just please make a
Yep.
record of all the things you just described. You indicated that you were in the car source lot near the building on the car source lot and kind of looked around it. Is that right?
correct.
Would that have been along sort of the south of that building looking west?
But it had been in the south looking down to the west, correct.
And you indicated that you saw something, you described a building, and I think that building was at the southwest corner of 10th Avenue and 63rd Street. Is that accurate?
That would be accurate.
What did you see again or observe at that location?
It looked like there was somebody standing in the second floor window, and they looked to be holding a gun. To get a better look, I kind of moved out into the cars and faced in that direction. As soon as the person in the window saw me, they ducked around the corner. And then bullets started coming from the west and started hitting the car that I was hiding behind.
The person you saw in the window, is this a window of a house?
It looks like a house, yes.
This is someone inside a house holding a firearm.
They may or may not have been.
And then bullets came from the west and hit the vehicle that was near you?
Correct.
Did any of those hit you?
No.
What did you do as a result of that?
One of the folks associated with the protest was behind the car with me. I told him to get behind the car source building, and we scooted around behind the building real quick.
What happened then?
That point, there was a white car that had caught on fire. The gas tank went off on it. Kind of poked their heads back around. By that time, SWAT was directly behind the building from car source. And they're like, hey, somebody's over here shooting. Somebody's over here shooting. Get the fuck back around. So we just stayed over there.
Oh, thank God.
That's fine. Let me skip ahead for a moment. Can we show
Skip
exhibit
ahead.
number
You had
13
others. You have stuff
at
to
the
skip.
2140 mark, please? You had testified that when you went down to the 63rd Street location, you saw that plastic bag on the ground.
He
Is that right?
objects.
Yes.
What,
I'm gonna
8 minutes too
I
late?
have an image of that up on the screen, and I'd like you to take a look at that.
There's
when it's
nothing
ready.
damaging here for Kyle, but I mean, come on, we're just burning time. Binger knows what he's doing. He's running the clock out. That should be clear to everybody. All right, what do we got now?
Is this at the 2140 mark?
Yes, that is a car fire, but there is more than just a car fire going on here. All right, guys, it looks like there's an interview going on. We're going to see if we can squeeze in on this.
How? Kyle's looking into your eyes. Right now, he's looking into your eyes. How long are we going to sit here and screw around with this video? You got the wrong timestamp. This is after the shooting. How is this relevant? Is Kyle being interviewed? What is happening here? Does this witness have personal knowledge of anything going on at this point? I lost where I was on drinks. I think I did the 4,000 drinks. So I guess I got to do a 4,500 like drink. I'm about out of gin now. I'm out of gin. I'm done. I'm liquored out. I got to go to the store. Appreciate you guys liking the stream, sharing the streams, all of that stuff. This is all in a playlist, by the way. You can share the playlist. It has all of
mixed up there.
All of the trial, all of my commentary about
that
it.
video here. I'd like you to take a look at it if you could, please. Thanks.
All right, guys. So here's what we got going on. We are not trying to spook anyone. We're gonna move in. It looks like
we can hear.
Play the video, please. Thanks.
Okay.
Mr. Balch, there's an object on the ground.
We're gonna
on the left
relitigate
side
the
of
bag.
this, view screen. Do you see that object?
Yes.
Can you identify that for us?
That's the plastic bag that I picked up to take a look at.
That's the one that Mr. Rosenbaum threw. Is that correct?
Correct.
couple more things finally. After all is said and done here, you stayed at this location and spoke to some individuals who were from the media. Is that fair to say?
And we kind of got ambushed by them.
Well, make it sound like they were trying to attack you. They came up and were...
Yeah, they came up out of nowhere and we weren't expecting them.
When you say we, who was with you?
Jason Lekowski was with me.
When
See what I got in the
when
cupboard.
these folks asked you your name, what did you tell them?
I gave them a false name of Thomas Craig.
Why did you do that?
Protect my identity so that I could get out of there and figure out what was going on.
There were folks there that showed you video.
Apple pie moonshine, I guess it is.
What happened that night?
Yes.
In those view screens, were you able to see the defendant?
One of the live streamers did show me a picture of the defendant when he was laying on the ground, being struck on the head, I believe, when he fired his weapon.
From that, were you able to identify that that was someone that you had been with?
Yes.
That evening? Did you admit that?
To them, no.
In fact, when they confronted you on it and accused you of knowing exactly who that was, you lied to them and told them you did not, correct?
Correct.
And when I discussed this with you, you gave me the explanation that because you were concerned for your safety at that time?
Waiting for Viva, his camera
we
appears
were surrounded
frozen.
by several people, and there were groups of them milling around us as well.
At that moment that you lied about knowing the defendant, you still had your AR-15, correct?
Correct.
And your Glock.
I'll bring him in. His camera's wonky.
No, I didn't have the Glock at this time.
And Mr. Lekowski
Is that better?
was with you.
Yes.
Was he armed?
Yes.
You're really
Were there
choppy.
police cars nearby?
Further down the street from us, yes. But they were dealing with the shootings and whatnot.
Once you were informed that the defendant was the one who had been involved in these shootings, was a suspect, did you approach the police that night and tell them about your information?
No.
I have nothing further.
Oh,
Nick-
finally.
Nick, you've been doing
Yeah.
this all day.
Mr.
Yes.
Has it been this? I mean, I missed a bit of this, but has it been this pointless all day, just playing the video and stating the obvious?
Does anybody need a break?
I think the prosecution wishes it was this pointless.
Well, you were out on patrol.
Here we
my
go.
client Kyle Rittenhouse. You're armed. He's armed.
This is correct.
And you went by law enforcement on numerous occasions.
Yes.
Did anybody ever tell you you can't be out there with these weapons?
No.
Did anybody ever question you or him about your age?
No.
You were interviewed several days after this
One
by
sec,
the
Viva.
FBI, correct?
Correct.
And they specifically asked you about that bag, correct?
Correct.
And reading from the report, you told them you examined the bag quickly and observed an ammonia mixture and a small bleach bottle, correct?
Correct.
Is that what you observed?
That's what I thought I'd observed at the time.
By smell?
I didn't check the smell.
What made you think it was ammonia?
Because of what we'd been hit with earlier in the night.
And when
Good
the
questions.
bomb had been hit earlier in the night, Mr. Rosenbaum was there with that bag, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent questions.
You testified that when you were out there that evening at the end, you didn't have your Glock, correct?
Correct.
You had borrowed it to Nick Smith?
Lent it. Oh, God.
He told me his
Midwest.
name was Nathan, but yes.
Okay. So you were using a pseudonym, false name?
Correct.
Nathan was using a false name?
Yes.
Did he give you a false name or did he say Kyle Rittenhouse? I'm pointing to my client.
I don't remember if he gave me a pseudonym or not. He went by Kyle most of the night when he was talking to me.
Kyle.
Yep.
You refer to a man and a woman who you always saw with Rosenbaum, correct?
Correct.
Can you describe that man?
He was tall, scraggly looking with a beard.
Okay.
He had like camo shorts on, I think.
Okay. Do you remember anything about the top?
I can't remember the color of the top specifically.
Yeah. Do you remember anything specifically about the woman?
She had a black backpack on. She was a little heavy set, maybe.
You remember anything about her hair?
I think it was dyed a bright color, maybe.
Blue hair. Okay.
I recognize these individuals.
Nick, this is the prosecution's attorney, right? Prosecution's witness, right?
Yes, this is the prosecution's witness, and this witness and the previous witness have both been devastating to the prosecution.
Well, I heard what he said about Zeminski, thinking that Zeminski had shot someone, which, you know, is going to create a reasonable sense of apprehension in any reasonable person.
This guy witnessed Rosenbaum lighting fires all day. And they got in the fact that Rosenbaum said to Kyle Rittenhouse, if I get you alone, I will fucking kill you. I mean, just stunningly bad work, it seems, by the prosecutor today.
Well, but they're the facts of the case. It's just, I mean, they were known. What was the purpose of calling this guy as a witness in any event for the prosecution? What could he have shown?
The main thing I think they've gotten out of him is the idea that a 5.56 round fired from an AR-15 style rifle has the ability to over-penetrate a target and go through it to the end, which would bolster the reckless endangerment charge for McInnis slightly. It's not a great win on the reckless endangerment, but it's there. And then the other idea might be that this guy just didn't shoot anybody, even though he was in similar, not the same, but some similar types of danger. But I honestly, I cannot figure what good value this witness and McInnis have. The only thing I can think is maybe they thought that McInnis and this guy would be so favorable to the defense that they wanted to call them for direct. But that's not a great strategy either. So I don't know.
Even if they call them for direct and they'd be limited in theory on the questions they can ask in cross, could they not still call them as a witness for defense if they so chose?
Yeah, I mean, I think they still could. So I don't know. I don't know what the theory is on bringing this guy. I mean, McInnis, you almost have to bring him because he's the primary witness on the endangerment charge, right? He's the quote unquote complaining witness.
Yeah, as if this entire trial is going to come down to the endangerment charge and not the 2 murder charges.
Right. And I still think the whole thing hinges on the Rosenbaum self-defense. If they win Rosenbaum self-defense, I think they win all the major charges.
Do you recognize anybody in that picture?
The female with the red hair is the one that was accompanying Rosenbaum, and the other male.
Okay. The other male is not in the picture completely, correct?
Correct.
But that is the individual who was with Mr. Rosenbaum. Do you notice anything in his hand?
He's got the handgun in his hand, as you.
And you might not be able to tell, but with this bar right here, does that tell you where that was?
That's at the Ultimate gas station.
Today has largely been a good day for the defense, not so much because of the actions of Richards. They've been average. They've been kind of what you would expect, bog standard, nothing brilliant, competent.
You and my client were present when Mr. Rosenbaum threatened you and Kyle, correct?
Correct.
And he specifically said if he got either of you alone, he would expletive kill you.
That's correct.
Excellent.
Any doubt about that?
No doubt about that at all.
Told the FBI that?
Yes.
And that was right after, I'm going to get his name wrong, Dustin had put out dumpster fire?
Correct. It was about 20 to 30 minutes before we headed south and the shooting started.
And Mr. Binger asked you some questions about did he try to attack you at that time? How many guys were there?
There were about 4 or 5 armed men in front of him.
Okay. And there's some other armed men on the roof?
Correct.
That were upsetting him because he
did not appreciate armed men.
Okay.
Excellent
And
question.
You specifically referred to him, and I wrote the words down. He was a hyper-aggressive individual, correct?
That is correct.
Could you tell me what that means to you?
Every encounter I saw him have with someone was extremely aggressive.
Talking about Rosenbaum now, right?
Some lighting fires.
Lighting fires, getting in people's faces. Protesters and armed individuals were having to get between him and other people to stop fights from happening.
Did you see him tip over the porta potty?
I didn't witness that.
Okay. Did you see him take rocks out of the St. James rock pile?
He got the rocks he was throwing from somewhere.
Okay. Did you see him involved in taking the trailer out of St. James, taking it down the road and starting it on fire?
I didn't witness that event.
I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Excellent questions.
Well, so
Excellent questions.
two things. You notice he said expletive today and not the swear word. So maybe he's taking some advice from the internet, like don't say the N word and don't say expletives.
Yeah.
And bringing up the
You
fact that the
testifying
police
for statements to the
tolerated the
FBI.
presence
Correct.
of Rittenhouse and their guns.
He
That
also.
was,
one second.
dated August 28th of 2020. Would this sound right
Correct.
to you? Yes.
That sounds correct.
3 days after this incident.
That is correct.
When you spoke to the FBI, what was your intent?
Well, I really didn't have any intentions of speaking to the FBI. They just showed up at the house. I gave them what information I could remember and what I could make sense of. They were very clear with me to only give them the information that I was 100% sure about.
Did you withhold any information from them?
No.
Did you tell them the truth?
Yes.
Were events in your mind clearer 3 days after the incident than they might be now?
Even then, it was the whole situation was kind of a big jumble of, and I was trying to put timelines together. So I had told them explicitly that my timelines are going to be a little off.
I understand that, but do you think your memory of what happened on the night of August 25th was better 3 days later than it is 14 months later?
It would be, yes.
Is he trying to undermine his own
When you
witness now?
spoke to the FBI, did they identify themselves as the FBI?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know you were speaking to law enforcement officials?
Yes.
Did you understand that if you didn't tell them the truth, that could get you in trouble?
Yes.
And you wanted to be completely honest with them?
Yes.
You going for a perjury trap
Did you
on his own
understand
witness?
that they were asking you questions about a homicide?
Yes.
Did you understand that it would be helpful to give them as much information as possible about what happened here?
Yes.
Was that what you wanted to do?
Yes.
Did you want to cooperate with them?
Yes.
Did you want to tell them everything that you knew about what happened?
These are trap questions.
Your
100%
statement-
walking him down the road.
You say, and I'm going to quote, this is on page 3 of your statement. Balch stated that this eventual victim, who's Joseph Rosenbaum, was carrying a hospital-style bag with chemicals to make Molotov cocktails. You then say later on that this is on page 4, Balch examined the bag quickly and observed an ammonium mixture and a small bleach bottle. First of all, am I reading your statement to the FBI correctly?
You are.
None of that is true, is it?
It doesn't appear to be, no.
Nowhere in this statement to the FBI did you mention any tall guy with a scraggly beard or a shorter woman with colored hair, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
He just had to discredit his own witness because he got demolished.
No, they just never asked those questions.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when the FBI talks to you, they don't write out a statement for you and let you review it for accuracy and completeness, do they?
No.
They just ask you questions. They show up to your house unannounced. You answer the questions. They leave, and they write down what they think is important.
That is correct.
Excellent.
Further.
Excellent. Recross. Oh my gosh. Richards did something
Okay,
good
folks,
today.
let's break for the day, and please call after, excuse me. Okay. I'm thinking about my Monday juries when we finish for the day. Please don't talk about the case. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. And I'll turn you over to the clerk of the court. And I think she could probably take care of it here in the library, maybe? Or Or maybe they want to go upstairs anyway. You have things upstairs? Why don't you go up there and we'll tell her, go up there and see you there. Thanks. See you tomorrow.
All right. It looks like, just a second. Let me make sure we're all done.
Yeah, so there is certain inconsistencies between.
One second. We've got some bench arguments here. Hold on. Let's see if we can hear them real quick, and then I would love to hear your thoughts. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Coming on schedule, but how are we coming on this anticipated schedule?
I'm glad you asked. We have witness Jason Lukowski.
I'm glad you asked.
We do have a witness that I'd like to start Monday morning. For scheduling purposes, we're going to do a very lengthy one that'll be huge gross quotes. What I'd like to do for the rest of the day tomorrow is we have a number of other witnesses that will be shorter, hopefully shorter. So my hope is to get through as many of those as we can. And bottom line, judges, if we get to the 3:30 in the afternoon or thereabouts, I'd rather not start a large witness on a late Friday afternoon and walk through the weekend. I'd rather do Mr. Grosscourt's beginning Sunday. Maybe we'll get to 4:55 tomorrow. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
And I appreciate the information. What I'm more concerned with is how much of are we going to finish next week?
I believe that we will be done with our case probably on a Tuesday at this rate. That's my hope.
And then we'll finish this week or next week?
I can't make predictions on this previous process.
Through this land, we are all connected.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the gross quartz they're talking about is the gross quartz. They're going to call him as a witness Monday.
Yes, looks like that's what they're scheduling is gross quartz Monday. They've got some minor witnesses. One of them, and I think this was smart of Richards to not be committal on how long it will take. One of the witnesses that they have named, and I can't believe they're going to call her, is Rosenbaum's Rosenbaum's girlfriend.
Yep.
If they call Rosenbaum's girlfriend, they are opening the door to his pedophilia conviction.
Yeah. So what the ruling that the judge said is that they cannot bring up Rosenbaum's prior convictions unless it becomes relevant by some act of the prosecution.
Right. And the prosecution has partially opened the door to that already because in their opening statement, they said Rosenbaum could not stay at his girlfriend's house. So if they bring her, the first question is, why can't you stay at your girlfriend's, or why couldn't he stay at your house? And she'll say, well, there was a protective order. Oh, what was the protective order about? Well, this. Where was he coming from? Oh, this hospital. What type of hospital? Why was he in the hospital?
And as of now, have they mentioned what they have not mentioned what type of hospital he came out of or why? Like they're mentioning the hospital bag, which seems that they might get there.
Not before the jury. They have not. Only when the jury is absent have they mentioned that he was there for some sort of mental issue. It's apparently a multifunction hospital. So hospital has been a valid descriptive word at this point. But again, if they get the girlfriend on the stand, why was he in the hospital? What was he there for? Oh, it was an attempted suicide. What do you think that was about? Why did he tell you? Did he talk to you? Did he carry a lot of guilt? When he was beating you, did he tell you about his past?
They're going to get the girlfriend up there. Was as a matter of fact, what did his girlfriend do on the eve of the event? Was she there with him?
No, she stayed home. I don't know why they're going to bring her at all.
Get out. That seems like it would be a big mistake because she has no material knowledge of anything and can only do harm. They're bringing up what's his name? Gross Quartz. What's his? It's not Gross.
Gage Grosskreutz.
Grosskreutz. So they're going to bring him up.
Yes, he is a complaining victim, right? He has a bicep with a hole in it.
Yeah, 90% of the bicep. Now, do we know if he knew Rosenbaum before that evening? They didn't know it.
I don't think so. Okay. Not that I've ever seen. He may have known Huber. That I'm not sure of, but I think the Rosenbaum situation is this separate attenuated incident. And there's about 3 minutes of separation and a good deal of distance that Kyle has run before he is confronted by Huber and Grosskreutz.
Yeah, no, that the Grosskreutz is going to be the most fascinating part of the trial when that witness comes up, because I'm wondering if you can even get to Rosenbaum's history through Grosskreutz, or depending on what they discussed that evening, what they knew of each other.
Right.
Yeah, you got it. There will be a way to get that in, and the prior. It might be more or less relevant because his behavior that night is going to be so erratic that it's going to explain a lot. But to get that in would be beneficial.
Right. And the prosecution, again, the amazing thing, the prosecution brought the witness, the one we were just watching, is that he testified specifically to every time he saw Rosenbaum. Every interaction he saw with him was aggressively violent. All of them. And so if we get to a point where anybody knows Rosenbaum, girlfriend, if we get to this idea of maybe Gage knowing him, you get to ask the questions. Is he aggressively violent all the time? Do you know about his past? Has he been aggressively violent in the past? You get to start asking this because, again, the prosecution brought this in. They brought this testimony to the court. And one thing judges I've seen don't really like is when you bring something to court and then you try and object to the follow-up of that later on. Doesn't go well.
What was I going to say? It's interesting. 2 points that Richards just brought up at the end there, which you like to think maybe he's listening to the social media commentary, but to bring up the fact specifically that the cops saw the gentlemen with their guns there, didn't ask their age, didn't object to their presence, didn't tell them to disperse and go home.
Correct.
Tolerated their presence, and they were no threat to anyone at that time to warrant police intervention. And then the second thing that he brought up, what was the other good point that Richard just made at the end?
I mean, he just made that. So the guy told the FBI that he saw an ammonium mixture and bleach in the hospital bag. And he mentioned earlier he had testified about this, that perception was based on his experience because they had been hit by gas bombs and stuff from the crowd prior. So to me, this establishes very clearly that there's and they even asked, was Kyle Rittenhouse there when you got hit by this? Yes. And so they've established very clearly that it's reasonable to fear that something thrown at them could be more than just an inane object. And then he pointed out that when the FBI is asking you these questions, they're not actually writing down a statement and having you review it or anything like that. They just write down what they think is important in the notes.
No, the strong point that he made was that, first of all, that Rosenbaum said, if I get you alone, I'll effing kill you. And he said expletive and not the F word. But the other thing, it was earlier today, I forget who, Zeminski, where he said we were running and we thought that, I thought other people had been shot by Zeminski. I think it was this guy, he said it earlier, which is now going to not allow the prosecuting attorney to just downplay Zeminski for reasons that only he can explain, firing his gun into the air. At this point, the guy said himself he thought someone had been shot by Zeminski, which changes the entire dynamic, especially of Rosenbaum chasing him, screaming "F you," like a maniac, and then within 2.5 seconds getting shot. So,
yeah. Oh, the other good stuff for the defense from this particular witness was the idea the entire time that they had made a buddy system. They had made a buddy system to be safe. He was Kyle Rittenhouse's buddy. And the entire night they were together. And while they were together, everything was okay. But then he walked on while Kyle stopped and talked to someone, and then he lost track of Kyle. So suddenly this guy's alone when these guys believe they need a buddy system for safety. And that filters in to the whole thing. Of course, you have McInnis doing a pretty good job as a witness today. The one thing that annoyed me was he said that guns escalate the danger level of a situation generally. I think that was a little bit, I wish he wouldn't have said that specifically, but the rest of his testimony is all about how, he saw the situation The situation itself is menacing. The environment is dangerous. He had to get off the phone and go meet with his crew to make sure they were together and they were safe. I think when you combine that into to everything, you make a very compelling argument that as long as people are in groups of 2 or 3, they were relatively safe. But when Kyle became isolated, he was in reasonable fear because he was suddenly in more danger, exponentially more danger by being alone.
Yeah, no, it's but these are the facts of the case. They're just coming out, minus the spin, minus the replaying of the horrendous video, which I guess Binger thinks is going to have a swaying effect on the jury. All right, okay, you're doing the Lord's work there, Nick. I mean, this is you realize there's close to 8,000 people watching a trial that by and large would never get to. There's no mainstream.
There was someone outside your window for a minute.
There's 8,000 people watching this trial that would have otherwise probably never sat through the just watching it regularly, and people are going to know, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I will be on tomorrow, guys. We will be watching again. Make sure you let people know if they're interested in this trial. This is the place to watch with commentary. Legal Bites will be joining me for the whole day. If other lawyers want to pop in throughout the day, happy to have them come on and stuff like that. But we're trying to offer the best Monday morning quarterback of this stuff that we can, because we don't have anything on the line here. It's really easy for us to make comments, but we're trying to educate people on what is going on and what could be slightly different in this case.
I mean, and also, Nick, the value of this is that aggregate knowledge of the internet on the one hand, but it's entirely possible and realistic that these messages get to the team. And, together people can bring up stuff and raise points that, individually an overwhelmed defense team might overlook.
Yeah, and you made a really great point yesterday. You had a fantastic tweet. I retweeted it. You said Monday morning quarterbacking is one thing. However, when there are obvious objections that need to be said by a particular by the defense in this case, and they're going unnoticed, reasonable criticism is necessary. And you're 100% right on that. And that is what we're doing. Reasonably criticizing some of the actions. And I will say, I don't think it's because of us or anything like that. The defense had a better day today. Richards, his first cross exam was a little truncated in my opinion, but he as the day progressed, he had great cross exam. His final cross exam was just bam, bam, bam. Is like a couple points that were really good. Rehabilitated his client as the prosecution's witness, as the prosecution had to destroy their own witness's credibility.
Well, to explain away why the witness's testimony today was different than his statement to the FBI, the prosecutor who calls him says, your memory was better then than today, so disregard any inconsistencies today and rely on the FBI statements. Right.
The FBI statements that the jury will not hear and that have not read into evidence. Fantastic. No, it was it's all part of this situation. Let people know what's going on. And I think the big white pill takeaway I want everyone to have from this is that, yes, yesterday was a bad day for the defense. This is estimated and seems to be at least a 14-day trial. 10 business day trial. It is okay that we have a bad day on one side. That does not sink a case. We do not need to doom pill immediately. Richards did much, much better today. He's nowhere near any sort of level of gross incompetence. He could still get there. But right now, today, if I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm satisfied with how today went.
And learning from what might be objective mistakes. Maybe he saw that the judge and the jury did not appreciate using the N-word, so he's now going to tone it back. They'll get the idea if you say expletive, and you don't have to come off as the bad guy when you're trying to quote the bad guy. So,
yeah, that was a big weird moment. Like
it was interesting.
I said it at the time. I can see the rationale behind using the N-word in its full glory, I guess, to shock the jury into paying attention to an important thing. I don't know. I would not have done it at that time.
I think it's that's the rationale, but the only reason it would shock the jury is because it's shocking, but they're not going to associate the shock with the person who said it. They're going to associate the shock with the person who they heard say it. So
right.
Never something I would have done.
Yeah, there's almost no instance I can see the value of actually doing it personally, but I don't want to foreclose the possibility, because there is some possibility where you want to say it. And in the Chauvin trial, Eric Nelson had a moment where he was quoting someone. It wasn't the N-word, right? It was you would never want to quote the N-word in a Chauvin trial, but he was quoting something else, like, I'm going to slap the shit out of you, you pussy, something like that. And it's like, sometimes you got to let the full expletive come through, because you need the shock value or the intimidation value. In this case, Richard's doing it, I think. I don't know if it was a slip or if it was conscious, but I wouldn't have done it.
No, and the thing is, like, when you have strong statements like that, and you don't want to be associated with the one having said it, you get the other witness the witness to say it, where he could have gotten one of the prosecuting attorney's witnesses to say, what did he say? Did you hear him say this? And make them repeat it so that they get the stink of association with that word. But no, today, look, it's the evidence is going to come out, and then it's just going to be a question of hoping the jury is going to interpret it reasonably and properly under the circumstances.
And would you agree with this point I made earlier, Viva? Sorry to put you on cross-exam here, but
Go for it. Let me just get the proper cross-examine lighting here.
No, I said earlier, a lot of people are really worried about how the case is going and stuff like that. But I think those people need to remember, we are in the prosecution's case in chief. And so at the time that the prosecution ends their case in chief, we should, if they've done their job, we should be on the side of the state. In this case, or in civil law, when the plaintiff is done with their case in chief, if they've done their job, you should be on the side of the plaintiff. You should go, okay, yeah, I see their point. I see where they're coming from. And then it's up to the defense to rehabilitate their portion during their case in chief. Is that accurate for you?
It's fair enough. And I would say also, going through this process where people get doom pilled in the beginning, this is the prosecution's turn to give the hits. This is like, you're not fighting with your hands tied behind your back, but it's not your turn to be swinging and punching. It's their turn. They swing and punch, and they hope to do as much damage as possible, and you try to block and deflect in defense when it's prosecution's evidence, and then they close, and then you come in with yours, and then it's your turn to start hitting. So right now, people don't like getting abused, but this is the one-way track of the process. But yeah, I mean, in theory, especially more in criminal, if they haven't proven it beyond a doubt, reasonable doubt, after their presentation, then it's much easier for the defense. In civil, it's balance of probability, so you never know if they've accomplished that goal. But no, you're right. And then it's going to be a question, after all is said and done, defense gets to come up and then make its case, and it's its turn to take to start punching. So people who felt abused by the prosecution for the last week, they'll have their day in court as well. But it's the back and forth process of litigation.
I agree. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I just want to encourage people who are watching, if you're on Kyle's side, the prosecution got a win yesterday. I think they really struggled today. What do you think about this? One thing I've noticed is that the Judge Schrader, seems to be, I mean, he is, I don't know if you've talked to Barnes about this at all, but he seems to be a dream pull of a judge for this type of case. He seems to be logical and consistent, and I've seen him advocating on behalf of the law, but that law happens to favor Kyle Rittenhouse pretty significantly at a couple points in this case, where I'm just blown away by the fact that we've got a judge who can be impartial, but also it almost appears partial. I'm sure he's going to get hit pieces today on his activity.
Well, I've got nothing to compare it to. Robert and I will talk about it on Sunday, because my only basis of comparison is the judge in Chauvin, who started off seeming, I would say, objective by the law, and then made a couple of decisions and a couple of statements which indicate, I won't say partiality, but indicate where his leaning was.
I'll say partiality for you, because I was, some of those judge decisions, I'm like, man, you're going way too far and you're going way too soft on the state. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so when he said like things like the aggravating factors of the crime was that it was committed in the presence of children, then you start getting an idea that this judge might be letting certain preconceived notions affect this judgment. Here, the judge is impatient but polite, which is always good. You're better off with a more impatient judge than a tolerant one, because they won't let people get away with chicanery. And I think he seems to be respecting the law, which you have to remember, not about Rittenhouse. It tends to favor the defendant because it's the state that has to prove its case. So he seems to be adhering to this a lot more than the Chauvin judge did towards the end. But, I don't know if he's a diamond in the rough, or if, he represents the better part of the judiciary in the States. But Robert and I will talk about it on Sunday for sure.
Yeah, and guys, make sure you check out Viva and Robert's live stream on Sunday. I'm sure it's going to be fire. I'm guessing Robert's going to have a nice recap of what's going on with his full opinions. He came on to my show, not last night, but the night before. I had Joe Neerman on, and we talked quite a bit about the first 2 days, and he had a lot of very interesting insight to say, and it's really good stuff. I'm going to upload, it's like an hour-long clip. I'm going to upload it right when the stream goes down. But Robert's take on this is very fantastic and very interesting, as he was so close to the case, and he has so much experience in these types of large, high-profile cases that have caught some level of national attention. So,
and last night I had Greg Hartley on from the behavior panel. The week before we had Chase Hughes, we had Scott Rouse on. We were talking about it. Like, anybody who thinks that it's an accessory or not essential, or not exquisitely value added to have behavioral scientists, for lack of a better word, specialists involved in it, probably lack the experience to know why it's necessary. But we talked about it. Barnes is going to have legit gripes as to why part of the team that was offered is not being used. Doesn't mean the defense is not going to succeed. They might succeed notwithstanding and not because of, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and I've said that about today, and I said that about the first day. I gave the first day to the defense, the second day to the prosecution heavily. I give today to the defense, but I'm not. Richard's had a couple bright moments today and a couple bright moments on the first day, but by and large, the overall aspect of this case is the facts and the law are on Kyle's side, and that has been doing the most work. The prosecutor has one of the hardest, most unenviable jobs on the planet in trying to bring these charges with the fact set that he has, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I mean, it's just a question whether or not the charges should have ever been brought. It's a question that I think a lot of us have our own answer to. But once they're brought, you're not going to go take a 2-week trial just to futz around. You got to do your best as a prosecuting attorney. But the argument is always, is the prosecuting attorney pursuing a conviction or pursuing justice? And that's the question that has to be asked. But it's true. The facts in this case are much different than Chauvin, much different than Ahmaud Arbery. And the more of them that come out, I think the more people with a reasonably open mind are going to reassess if they came to a foregone conclusion early on.
And this case is one of the best, most on-point self-defense cases that I've seen since I've become a lawyer, and maybe even before that. That this is, when you look back at Trayvon Martin and Zimmerman, and you go, they didn't even prosecute Zimmerman. Or I think he won on a stand your ground motion pre-trial or whatever. And you go, and I firmly believe that I'm not a big fan of Zimmerman as a person, but I do believe he was justified in his shooting. I go, if this is self-defense, Kyle Rittenhouse is miles better than what happened in Trayvon Martin.
No question, because in the other cases, you had the ultimate shooter being the pursuer and not being the pursued. And which is why, Binger he said it. I don't think he's come back to it, but alluded to the Rittenhouse pursuing Rosenbaum, which, unless we're talking about that fire extinguisher running to put out the dumpster fire, other than that, Rittenhouse never pursued anybody seeking his own justice. He was pursued beginning to end and defended himself accordingly. So, yeah, I mean, I've never studied self-defense laws or cases in the States. Just looking at this, I know what I thought at first, but the more evidence that comes out, you realize he would be dead. There's no other way to say it. He would be dead, but for what he did.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was hitting on yesterday is when you're talking to other people about this case, if you do engage in that sort of communication, they say something like, well, he didn't have a gun there, or he shouldn't, or he didn't have a legal gun, or he shouldn't have been there in the first place, or maybe he shouldn't have yelled at someone at some point in the night. And the answer to it is, well, I guess he should just die then. Because the reasonableness of his decisions is based on him thinking, if I do not pull this trigger, I might be dead in the next 30 seconds.
And he would have been. And
yes.
And I said it from the beginning, he shouldn't have been there. He should have stayed home, period. But when now we see the evidence coming out that he was there, the police knew he was there. The police saw him there. Nobody told him to go home and disperse. Nobody asked him about why he's carrying a firearm. Nobody asked him his age. Nobody reprimanded him or gave him the slightest indication he should not be there. Well, I mean, I may still say he should have been home and would have avoided an entire problem, but that does undermine the argument he shouldn't have been there, because the cops knew he was there and didn't tell him to go anywhere else.
Yeah, and I fully agree. If it was me, or more appropriately, in a couple years, if it was my oldest son, I would say, don't be at a protest. What are you doing? I don't want to go to protests because I've got 5 kids, right? I don't want to catch even a stray bullet or a knife or get arrested or something like that. Or, anything. So my personal thing is I don't do protests. And if my kids wanted to go to a protest, I would say, you know what, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But I don't want you, I don't think you should do that. But I think it's really important that no one questioned this guy with a rifle. That was actually another very interesting fact that came out, I think, from Bulge, the recent witness, is that he said that he thought Kyle was in his mid-20s, but with a baby face. So even the people around him are not under the impression that this is a minor carrying a gun, because a lot of people have brought this up on social media. Oh, he's a minor carrying a gun. And then the extension is he should just die then, right? Because you don't have a right to self-defense, apparently. But nobody there. Rosenbaum doesn't know that this is a minor with a gun. I mean, he may be able to smell minors. I don't know. But Huber... Sorry, I have no respect for the deceased.
People don't know who these. Not that it changed anything.
That was McInnes. Sorry, that was McInnes, not this guy. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, the fact that he's a convicted, potato file doesn't mean he gets to get summarily executed. To most people, the fact that he is a convicted criminal of the worst order in a context where he is trying to engage in more criminality of the worst order, to me, it becomes relevant. But
yes.
Yeah,
it's this is a fascinating case, and I think our entire the entire concept of self-defense from a national standpoint is laser focused on this case. That's why I'm loving it. I think it's, and you mentioned it's a much different case than the Arbery case, where whatever you think about that case, the facts are much muddier. They're not all on video. You have the potential for each party feeling justified in their actions. There's some prior activity to the video that could be really, really damaging for the defense of the McMichaels. We don't know all of that stuff. And that's what makes that case interesting. But it also makes it not like a poster boy self-defense case. Oh, go ahead.
And this, when you talk about, I don't go to, you decide not to go to protests. I'll go if it looks like it's a decent, safe protest. But when you look at this, the more footage that comes out of this reveals it wasn't a protest. It was just criminality.
Yep.
As far as we can tell from the videos, dumpster fires, vandalism, arson. And so this looks like criminality, not a legitimate protest for civil rights. And you have a guy there who presence tolerated by the police, necessary, and at one point gets assaulted by the criminal elements that were there. If I don't know what could be more justified under the circumstances, setting aside the fact that it would have avoided a catastrophe had he just stayed home. But
he has no duty to stay home. He has I mean, outside of the the civil ordinance of a curfew, which everybody else around him is equally violating, except I would say even less so because he is for the majority of the time on private property. But either way, if he's violating curfew, he's equally ceded to every other person out on the streets that night. So you go, okay, I don't necessarily want him to maybe be at a protest, but he has every right, an equal right to be there that everybody else has at that moment. I'm personally opposed to curfews entirely. I think they're a full-on infringement of freedom, and I don't think they should ever, literally ever be imposed.
But what good is it is setting a curfew when the police were not imposing it? So it's
exactly.
They set a curfew, and then they allow. Oh, I'm officially out. Battery's dead, people. They set
Viva and blackface. Oh my goodness. Very.
There we go. They set the curfew. Don't impose it. Withdraw from the police pull back, and then all hell breaks loose. But no, that's it. I mean, it's an interesting set of facts. Whether or not you think he should never have been there in the first place, when I see the police tolerating his presence, referring to him seemingly by name, it does change my perspective on the he should never have been there in the first place argument. Maybe if the police had a problem with that, they would have raised it as an issue then and there.
Not once in any video do you hear the police say, "Hey, you should go home. There's a curfew."
Or do you have a permit for? I mean, I guess you don't need a permit, but how old are you? Where'd you get that rifle? Get out of here with that rifle. Why are you here? Reprimand, not from the police who are there. No, because by and large, and by every evidence up until the incident, Rittenhouse is putting out fires literally and administering first aid literally until Rosenbaum.
Yeah, I think that was one good fact that came out of yesterday that was very unfortunate for the prosecution was when somebody testified to the fact that Kyle had, or no, it was Dominic Black. He testified the fact that they had pulled someone in who had a hand wound, and Kyle administered first aid and wrapped a bandage around the person's hand, fastened the bandage, and then got them out of there. Yeah. So it's like, because they really wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to be a fake medic, but turns out he actually medicked someone live. Like how inconvenient of a fact can you get from your own witness yet again? It's beautiful.
White supremacist serial murderer out on a shooting spree who goes out to administer first aid and put out fires and only fires back when being chased by psychopaths who are trying to start fights, bash them with the head with a skateboard, and pull concealed weapons at a protest. I mean, yeah,
and doesn't shoot, even though he does level his weapon at one person, does not shoot when the person backs away. It's amazing because that's right after he shoots Gage Grosskreutz. There's another guy coming up on Kyle, and he does level his weapon at him, and then the guy, he pulls up his hands and he backs away. Kyle lowers his weapon, gets up, and proceeds to go straight to the police. Which
turns himself in. No, it's great, and you're doing good stuff by making it not just palatable to watch, entertaining to watch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Is there? I'm going to read super chats and then wrap up the show. I assume you've probably got something to do. You're welcome to stay.
No, I'm going to go. I saw the kids and the wife get in the house. The dog is sleeping on the car seat. I got to edit my video of the latest updates in Alec Baldwin. So
yes, fantastic.
I'm putting out a video tonight. Nick, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, Viva. Guys, go check out Viva's channel. It's phenomenal legal commentary, phenomenal political commentary. Go check it out. He's great. And I'll see you soon, buddy.
Thank you very much. Good night.
All right, peace.
Bye.
I don't know if that's him leaving. I don't even know what that. I'm going to pull him out of the stream. All right, guys. You heard it. I'm going to go through the super chats. Again, thank you so much for supporting the show. It's a huge portion of it. I read every super chat. I try to do them as organically as possible, but when there's so much talking with the case going on, I may not get to them right away. I will read them all at the end. I'll answer any questions that I feel like I can answer relevantly and appropriately. So if you have not had your super chat read, it will get read. We're going to read that right now. Otherwise, if you're going to peace out for this part, that's cool. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., just like every day other than today, 9 a.m. when the court starts, I'll be here. Come back, share it with people who are interested in this case. If you know of anybody, if you want to tell people where to watch, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Locals or whatever, and make sure you tweet out the links and let people know where they can watch this thing and get a little bit of insight and a little bit of levity. Tomorrow, Legal Bites will be joining me for most of the show. I'll try and balance out her audio beforehand. I don't know what's up with the audio today. I think something got screwed up in my browser settings or whatever, because I hear I'm way louder than normal. Normally, I'm on the mic like this. But today I've tried to stay back from it because a lot of people said I'm really loud. I'll review the audio and see what's up. And then we'll try and get that sorted before the show tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll catch on as soon as the court is going. We're going, and we'll be there for the duration. I've also got a playlist of the first 3 days of trial, and make sure if you are interested in a recap of the first of the pretrial motion, I've got a video that's going to go up on that soon. And then if you want to see my conversation with Robert Barnes and Good Logic, Joe Neerman, we talked pretty extensively after the second day of trial about how things were going, about the defense team, and more specifically about Robert Barnes's interaction and then removal from that defense team and the kind of the drama around that. So check all that out. Look for that video upload. It's going to go up right when the stream ends. Woo, too much talking. I will read super chats and then we'll wrap up. IWD says the state of Florida has some pretty amazing self-defense laws. I never understood what the prosecutor was trying to do except gain clout at the Martin family and taxpayers' expense. Trayvon Martin, yes. If you want to see some great Florida self-defense laws, you have to look no further than Alex, right? Was it Unpleasant Alex? I don't remember his name specifically, but he was with Andy Worski. They were in Florida. They were accosted by some overly buff Canadians ripping their shirts off. Alex pulled a gun. It's a big meme. Aim, stay the fuck back, stay back. That all happened. If you guys don't know, I referred Alex to the attorney that he had. They had that whole thing. That whole case was dismissed on self-defense grounds, and everything was good. I knew the moment I saw that footage and heard about what had happened, I was like, this is clear-cut self-defense. Yeah, so that was a case that ended up right. You can meme on it all day because memes are the greatest. Jokes are good. Jokes are always appropriate. There's no such thing as an inappropriate joke. But this is self-defense, and this is how it works. All right. Why is this phone ringing like crazy? Hold on. California? No, thanks. I don't take calls from California. Automata says, I'd like to ask Richie McInnes, is one of the reasons that you were worried about being in the line of fire was that you knew you were in the same position as the defendant, you would have fired that weapon? Maybe. I don't know if I would actually ask. You don't want to ask a question where you might get an answer of that you're not expecting. Jason the Great Awakening says, Binger looks like a slightly more manly Ron Toye. Yeah, it's sad to say. Binger is, by a mile, the tallest attorney in that courtroom. He's way taller than Richards and Sharifsi, who both look fairly Rosenbaumish by comparison. Lon Baker says, thank you for all your insights and opinions. Oh, I got more. I got more opinions than anybody needs. Snuggle Struggle says, lots of people saying Kyle should have never gone there and he wouldn't have had to defend himself if he stayed home. Almost like they think women shouldn't wear revealing clothing and should stay home so they're not targeted. Yeah. And again, it's actually a distinction between the legal reality and the practical reality, right? If you're a woman, you should be able to walk around naked without getting raped. Should you walk around naked? No, of course not. Maybe a less extreme example is if you're driving a car downtown, you should be able to leave it unlocked with a cell phone or an expensive item in the front seat, and no one should open your car and steal it. But is it wise to do that? No, you should put it in the trunk. You should lock the car. Of course you should. So, of course, maybe you shouldn't be out during a riot or a protest. However, you have no legal obligation to not be out. In fact, you have the legal right to be out. BRNDNREB says, homeschool dad here. Wife is an at-home professional, but is the primary educator of 3 kids. We use a co-op as well. Had doubts at first, but now would never consider anything else. Defund the public schools. 100%. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Jason of the Great Awakening says, there it is, the Fed vans. Okay. Mithrin Emmer says, what is the point of Private Pork Chop Gravy Seal testifying? I don't know. I mean, as a defense, you'd want to call that guy. If it is that Kyle shouldn't have been roaming around, another witness already said they or someone told Kyle to go to a different location. True. There was nothing useful in Gravy Seal's testimony. Nothing. I can't figure it out. Clockwork says this Spec Ops LARPing is cringe as hell, and that's coming from a guy who's going up into the mountains this weekend to pretend he's a wizard. At least we have the decency to contain our degeneracy. Yeah, I don't know. That guy's like, well, I was infantryman with 2 deployments. Like, yeah, so were a lot of people. Does that make you specially qualified for any of this in any particular way? No. Not that again, you have every right to be there. You have every right to go and protect property, to express your political opinions. You have the right to do that. There's nothing wrong with what he did. Miller Nemmer says, Private Pork Chop. Tell me, Kyle, you like gladiator movies? You ever seen a grown man naked? Want to touch my truncheon? Damn. Russian name says, is perfect information even a thing? No. Squirrel 69 says, did at any time you observe a fire with a bat, did a fire have a knife? Did a fire have a firearm? Did you witness any fire acting aggressively at any point during the night? That was Binger's, I guess, probably his best stuff so far, was that he kept hammering on did he have a knife? Did he have a gun? Did he have a weapon? Did he have a bat? You know, that's good, a good mnemonic for the jury to hear. Repeat the mantra of he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have a weapon. Is it going to get them to carry the day? I don't think so. I don't give it to him on that alone. Tommelfinger says soap is used in Molotov cocktails, makes like napalm effect, sticks and burns. Look, we're getting focused on this bag, and the prosecutor wants to distract people with this bag. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that this is the strategy. The prosecutor wants to distract people with this hospital bag. It doesn't matter what's in the bag. Nothing in it. It could be a bunch of cotton balls in that bag. Doesn't matter. Kyle doesn't know what's in the bag. The bag gets thrown at Kyle while a pedophilic retard is running after him at full speed going, fuck you, right? Like, that is happening. It doesn't matter what's in the bag that he throws. Zero. Unless you can prove that Kyle had prior knowledge of what's in the bag, zero effect on the self-defense analysis. There's no point in hitting it over and over. And so that's the idea. If someone, because think about it. If you're running from someone and they throw anything do you even know it's a bag? Might be a rock, could be a water bottle with a cap on. By the way, you don't want to get hit with a bottle. It could be a beer bottle. It could be glass. You have no idea what's thrown at you. And unless they get some direct evidence that Kyle knew it was a bag with nothing harmful in it, right? Just a bunch of gay yowie or whatever. Unless you do that, you have no idea. And therefore it's not an element of self-defense. That anything, even if a bag full of cotton balls was thrown at you violently with the intent to hit you and you didn't want to be hit by a bag of cotton balls, that's battery. That's a criminal act that has happened. Russian letter says, isn't a bullet coming through less dangerous? If bullet sticks in the body, all impost goes to damaging the tissue, and not even mentioning hollow point having a larger area of damage. Yeah, what they're trying to get at with that testimony about the bullet traversing through the person is that it would potentially hit someone behind him, and he should have known. T-Cool says, I bet Binger saw this guy as a dumb grunt and figured he could trip him up, but this guy is basically giving a patrol report. Yeah, the witness was fantastic. I mean, for all the jokes about him being a green buffet and all that stuff, like, which are very funny. Thank you for ruining my entire day with all of the jokes. For all of the jokes, Thick Boy did a great job on the stand. And you could tell, again, not a favorable witness for the prosecution. You always wonder which one of these guys has knifed Kyle in the back and is going to come out with some big thing. And that's why the prosecution's calling him. This guy wasn't the guy. He was not the guy. Isaac Powell says, would it be a good idea to show still shots and pictures from the video of Kyle having good trigger discipline? Possibly. The defense case may make that. We'll have to see. Blake Pritchard says, McGinnis should have answered that it's not a contradiction to be carrying a fire extinguisher unless you're an arsonist. Matthew McConaughey's long-lost twin saves the day. He did a good job. The only thing that bothered me with McGinnis's testimony that I remember is that he was specifically averse to the idea of guns being present. That's a New York attitude, and I think was a little bit much, in my opinion. Mr. Obi-Wan says, Balch is moving a little slow after eating 2 calzones and all the judges' chips. Damn, God, I want a calzone. Calzones are so good. James Einloth says, thanks for the coverage, Nick. If I'm ever charged with a murder, I'll give you a call. I mean, you can. We'll see. Moncor002 says, is this blathering beneficial to Kyle? Yeah, I would say it was. I would say that the blathering of the final witness there was actually beneficial to Kyle. All jokes and memes aside, that witness, and I would say Richie McGinnis as well, largely benefited Kyle. This whole day was positive for him. McGinnis is a friendly witness, and this other guy appeared to be. I didn't know he would be friendly. You never know why the state's calling someone who seems like they would be friendly, but he ended up being pretty friendly. Tony K says, objection, Your Honor. It's color of law. Lol. Nick, I think you have a better chance of winning the lottery than hearing an objection from the defense. To the defense's credit, they objected somewhere between 7 and 10 times today. They could have objected at some other places, but all in all, they did worse yesterday. Today, their objections were better. John Smith says, Viva is streaming via PowerPoint. I see. Yes, one frame at a time. No, I'm very glad to have Viva on the show. Hope you guys enjoy the guest commentary. For one, I like to bring other perspectives to the stream. For two, it helps me recognize things that I miss, and I help them recognize things that they miss. That's something I hope people take away from this. And whatever criticism you give to the defense, because they could have had more resources, at the end of the day, there's 2 or 3 lawyers sitting there, and what you're able to see and what you're able to formulate on the fly is limited by the amount of resources that you have. You can only focus so much on one particular thing. Your knowledge is limited to specific areas and fields. Your recollection of rules is limited to specific things. This is why we were saying yesterday, Emily Baker and I, Nate the lawyer, said the same thing. If you had this panel available to you that Robert Barnes had apparently put together of several professionals, many of them lawyers with lots of experience, and they're going to do it for free, have them around. Have them around. They might, even if they're not there to make objections or whatever, but you go to a break and they say, hey, by the way, I think maybe it would help if you upped your objections a little bit on some of these things, maybe hit foundation, maybe hit hearsay, some of this stuff. Let's show the jury that this guy is wasting everybody's time, that he's relitigating these issues. Those types of the things that we're saying here, right, on the show, communicated in real time to someone in good faith and in good confidence, can change how they perform, even if the person is not standing up and saying objection for them. Somebody's saying, hey, by the way, I noticed this and this and this, just some good notes, maybe take those into mind, and it changes their opinion. That's what you hope happens. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's that. Okay. Random says, when you die from exhaustion after streaming too much and they lay you to rest in the Jewish cemetery, they should write Big Nose Stream Machine at Law on your tombstone. Cheers. Scott Wolf says, Freedom Tunes just released The Legend of Kyle Rittenhouse. Can you play that on stream? No, I cannot. One, because it's late and I really want to go hang out with my family and have dinner. Two, because it's their content and I got to review it before I'm going to play it. Maybe tonight when I stream tonight. Rustman says, Hail, great job by you and the team covering the Rittenhouse trial. Thank you. Russell #1 fan says, which day are you bringing the Mountain Jew on as a co-host? I'm interested in hearing how Kyle should have done this pro se. Not only should have done it pro se, but he should have been more of a feminist while doing it, according to Melinda Scott. Bruni says, I think the goal of the prosecution today was 1, waste time because it's a witch hunt. 2, he's trying to find information that could lead to charges for others with Rittenhouse. 3, overwhelm the jury with information in lieu of facts proving murder. 1 and 2, I 100% agree on, or 1 and 3, I 100% agree on. Number 2, maybe. But 1 and 3 for sure. Die Ghostfish says, why the fuck would the defense object so late when the testimony just turned to the fact that Kyle would have been in danger if he stayed? You were being shot at when you investigated the first shooting site. Would Kyle have been safe staying there? I don't know why they would wait so long, but again, they're making tactical decisions. We're going to make some tactical choices here that some people might not agree with, but that's, you know what? That's okay. We're going to do what we're going to do. And frankly, we got the client's best interest in mind and we know all of the facts to do that. Okay. I'm getting to the remainder of the super chats. Ooh. Wow. I got to find where we left off. Okay. I know I read that one. Let's see. Gosh, there's a lot of good questions in here. It's going to take a bit to get through all these. Okay. Wolfgang says, late, queer, and not supportive of LGBFJB rights. Savoy6 says, did you catch Medicare on Halloween? No. He wants to cover the Christian trial when it comes to fruition. Love to see you guys stream together if Jim feels up to it. The Christian trial? What Christian trial is Jim talking about? Does anybody know what is the Christian trial? I don't know what the Christian trial is. Chris Chan. Sorry. It's not written as Chris Chan. It's written as Christian, like follower of Christ. Yes, I would love to cover the Chris Chan trial. Happy to do so. And if Jim wants to join me for a Chris Chan stream, or if he's going to cover it and wants me to join him, 100%. I'm so glad that guy's back on the internet. Lord Cybot says, do you think Kyle would be found guilty at this point? No, I think he's still got a very good self-defense claim. Does his lawyer's incompetence reach mistrial levels? No, and especially not after today. The lawyer was at least adequate today, and I think he closed really strong. Gardilu Gubbins says, Nick, what would be the implications for self-defense claims in the future if Kyle loses this case? Very grave implications. Europa Chronicles says, Barnes said that Richards isn't known for winning. After watching yesterday's shit show, I can see why. Hopefully he brings it today for Kyle's sake. Yeah, and Barnes probably knows more about his record than I do, because I don't know anything about his record. Looking up a lawyer's win-loss record is really tough, but there are ways to do it. It just requires extensive research. So when people ask me, has Richards ever won a case? Has Richards won majority case? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. And to me, that's a concern for other people because I'm just focused on what is happening in trial right now. Unicorn Meatman says, what is your view on the John Eisenman situation? don't know who that is or what that means. Or what the situation is, I guess. Brain says Kyle has to have looked online and seen even supporters think his lawyer is terrible. He must be getting nervous as this goes on. E. Malachi says Bronco is the only lawyer positive about yesterday. Bronco is a very fact-based lawyer from what I've seen, and he's a smart guy. I meant to suggest to people, go read Andrew Bronca's review of the Rittenhouse trial if you can. lawofselfdefense.com. Guy's great. Very smart guy, use of force expert, self-defense expert, and take his opinion into consideration. That's the thing. We're not gospel. Nobody on here is gospel, and I've tried to make that very clear. These are our opinions on what we would do and what might be available to do differently. I do think, yes, I mean, I'm not going to ever say that yesterday was a good day for the defense. I just don't think it was. I don't know how I could be persuaded that it was. But if someone's got a different opinion, by all means, soak it in. The Scott 16 says every time Binger refers to them as victims, Richard should refer to them as assailants. It's a little childish, but it would put them on even footing and draw attention to what Binger is doing. Yeah, it seems like they've given up on the whole victim thing. To me. Fractal Machine says a social media investigator is to a cop what social media influencer is to somebody who actually has a job. Mandalore Wise says, you think today's objections are because he probably got a couple of what the fuck are you doings from his friend? I hope so. From his friends? I hope so. And sometimes that's what you need. Other days, what you need is a coffee. Logical, plausible, probable says win or lose, Richards is finished. The incompetence is astounding. It's like he's second chair for prosecution. Pathetic. Robert Barnes, 100% correct. And remember, a lot of these came in early on in the day. Richards did do a lot better towards the end. A lot better. Shadow Fenrir says Rosenbaum died doing what he loved, chasing minors. Savoy 6 says in Richard's voice, detective, are you an officer of the law? Did you conduct an investigation? No further questions, Your Honor. Projects Done Poorly says, man, for how long have you been streaming? Feel like you were no longer a grifter. You earned this. Kyle deserves a medal, not a trial. So far, we're at 7 hours and 40 minutes today. Someone asked me how much I had streamed so far as of yesterday. I think it was north of 30 hours. And then by the end of this week, we'll probably be north of 60. Lots of content. Look, guys, we're bringing you content that nobody else can bring you. Okay, I'm doing this content. I'm covering these trials. I'm going to need the donations to kind of step. I've been banned from Twitch, from the partner program, so I can't get subscribers anymore or any revenue from it. So you're going to have to step up your game on the donate. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm doing a DSP impression, by the way. Completely kidding. Crab Na Betha says, I went and got 4 Roses bourbon at your recommendation. Haven't gotten a chance to try it yet, but will later tonight. Good. Tell me how it is. 4 Roses is a good solid bourbon. Let's go. Brandon says, is anyone keeping a tally on missed objections by the defense counsel? No one has that much paper. Kadak 1 says, Kyle looks more worried than yesterday and his eyes are slightly red. Dude, Kyle's going to be exhausted by the end of this trial. He's going to be exhausted by the end of the trial. Kid's probably not sleeping. One of the things that we've kind of seen, if you've been following this case, Kyle seems to have deep remorse and trauma for the fact that he had to kill a couple people. Doesn't look like anything he wanted to do or set out to do. Robert Barnes mentioned that he was in jail for like a month and every day he vomited, kind of from the guilt of what happened. This is not a kid who set out to go murder people. But I imagine that this trial is very stressful and is keeping him awake. Caleb Crow says, in Binger voice, just let the video keep playing. Just let the jury get one more look at the pedophile on the ground that my client just shot. Oh, you mean in Richard's voice? Just let the video keep playing. Let the jury get one more look at this pedophile on the ground my client just shot. Perforating a pedophile is preferable to letting them proceed to perpetuate on a minor. Alliteration's good. The Scott 16 says, Dear court system, clip-on mics have existed for over 30 years. Not being good with tech stops being an excuse to tech that old. Yeah. Court mics have the gain turned up to 1 billion. 1 billion. Venom Alistor says, why does Richards leave his arguments open without bringing them full circle? Barnes suggested he's not a great narrative thinker. He's very good at recalling facts, and we've seen him pull some great facts that I'm not aware of, out of FBI testimony that he may have read and stuff like that. He's great at pulling those facts out. He's not great at putting them into a narrative story. Mike the Dad Crosby says, hey, at least Kyle has a prosecutor on his defense team. Tommelfinger says, soap is used in Molotov cocktails, makes like napalm effects, sticks, and burns. Alex M says, Virgin Government Infantry Private Pile versus Chad Militiaman Kyle. Gentleman Sausage says, man needed a snack so bad he left Kyle to the wolves. Barry Soy Toro. Come on now. Barry Soy Toro says, you owe me for one jelly donut private pile. Mullen Labe 1371 says, using hollow points is a war crime per Geneva Convention, and Democrat politicians tried to outlaw cop killer bullets, aka hollow points. There you go. I don't know. My AR-15, I just have the full metal jackets because when I last time I bought ammo, that was impossible to find, and that's all you could find. So, Steve Dunaha says, did you eat the dinosaur from in front of the dinosaur museum? Oh, to the big boy. Yes. Yes, he did. Fiery Red Podcast says, thanks for the laugh. Love it. Real EMT from Minnesota. Hey, thank you for what you do, Fiery Red Podcast. Keep saving lives in the great commie state of Minnesota. Even though they may be communists, I will give you permission because you don't know. Save the lives. Deep Service says, maybe Richards knows the judge well, letting him play the part he loves to play anyways, with his speechifying for justice and truth. Possible. I don't know. William May says, not sure mocking the vocabulary of the Army vet with 2 tours was a good look from a bunch of lawyers. Just saying. Oh, we're just ribbing him. You're worried about us mocking the vocabulary and not calling him a gravy seal? Yeah. I don't think you'll find any of us being generally upset at military people in general, especially because never mind. I'm not even worried about it. Fractal Machine says, fuck around and find out in Viva Slow-Mo voice. He found out. Joe B says, did prosecution and defense mix their notes at some point? Maybe. Kyle says, I don't understand why militia is such a buzzword. Literally every able-bodied man in the U.S. Between the ages of 17 and 45 is part of the militia in the U.S. per 10 USC. I think it's 264. Yeah, but the problem is how militia is interpreted by normal people. And right now, militia has been turned into a boogeyman word, which means racist, pro-gun, crazy people who get together and meet in the woods and do training sessions and jerk each other off. It's the public perception, not the real perception of what a militia is. A militia is innocuous on its face, but the public perception, mostly to the media, is that if you're in a militia, you probably hate and shoot black people. That's honestly how they portray people in the militia now. Richard Fado says the other lawyer behind him on the left looks like he's sweating bullets. That's co-counsel. That guy is always sweating. Make no mistake. 200 Watt Studio says, Alita, please marry me, you goddess. Mean Sartin says, she's already married, buddy. Mean Sartin says, I think the judge will try to let the jury do a correct verdict before he tries to act. Just my legal experience. Yeah, probably. Mean Sartin, I agree with you. If you're still here, I agree. I don't think they're going to get a directed verdict after the whatchamacallit, after opening the case in chief of the prosecution. I do think there's a JNOV possibility. It's still really small right now, but I think that would only come after a jury verdict that the judge finds to be impossible. And I'm not saying they're there now, but if things keep going as they are, maybe they could get there. It'd be one of those rare cases that might be ripe for it. Not applicable says JNOV requires judge with balls. Don't know if he has them. So far, he does. Vapid Zero says FBI stuff killed judge's patience with Binger. Hopefully. John Pittman, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Edward Cullen says, hi, Nick. Given the prosecution is pushing the militia angle, would you push 10 USC 264 as the weapons and the weapons being charged being unconstitutional? I think that just in general should be a challenge against the prohibition on a 17-year-old owning a gun. What they're talking about is the militia, and this was mentioned in a previous super chat. The militia, as it's commonly referred to, there's two types of militia under U.S. law. One of them is basically the National Guard. The National Guard is a sanctioned militia. The other militia under U.S. law is every able-bodied male between 17 and 45. I mean, that is the militia. So, but I don't think that trying to squeeze that in is going to be persuasive to a jury or a judge. North Viking says, when you go back to the Walgreens and grab a pack of condoms, do you buy more items to hide the fact that they're condoms, or do you slam them on the counter and stare the cashier in the eye? I always do the second one. I make sure and buy the magnums is what I want to do. And when the cashier asks about it, I say it's for me. I don't have a bull. That's how I do that. Kisanari says, if a jury finds the defendant not guilty on every charge, but it hangs on misdemeanor, 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, what happens to the misdemeanors? You mean the jury hangs on them, like as in split decision? Then it's a mistrial and they would be retried on just the facts of those two, of those 3 misdemeanors. That's how that would work. But anything where they find him not guilty, if they were to actually make a finding of not guilty, which means unanimous not guilty verdict, those charges are gone forever. DCV Titan says, didn't you once represent a map once? No. No, I did not fully represent this person. I substituted in for a hearing. I'll tell you the very brief story. The family approached me, told me a great story about how this person was definitely not guilty based on DNA evidence. All right. And they said that the public defender was not doing a good job. I gave them the retainer amount. They never came up with the retainer money, right? Told them, look, I need this much money. It will be because I'd have to focus on the case, learn it, and represent in 2 weeks. And then in the meanwhile, while I was waiting for a retainer, I talked to an expert, a DNA expert, and we got the DNA report finally. And I sent the DNA report to the DNA expert, and they said, don't hire me. That person is guilty. And then, so I said, oh, shit. The family never ended up hiring me at all. And so they had a different attorney who was representing them, but that person was unavailable for the guilty plea hearing. So my job was to bring this person to the court and have them do the felony guilty plea where they would go to prison for 12 years, which I did. I did that part of it. So did I represent them in the sense that, yes, I helped conduct the hearing where they did their guilty plea and went to prison? Yes. Did I defend them outright? No. And the only reason I was considering defending them was because they said they had a very good case based on DNA. Turns out they were wrong. They had a very bad DNA case. A very bad DNA case. And the DCV Titan says, a plus for the ladies, I guess. Binger is never done. Maverick619 says, what do the actions of a guy who didn't even see the shooting have to do with anything? Very good questions. Very good questions. Again, leading up to the shooting, sure. Establishing the present sense impression of Kyle. Once the shooting is done, past Past that, I don't know what the purpose of it is. Don't know what the purpose